We're joined now by aviation expert and colleague of ours from our sister station, WHTM in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Seth Kaplan. Seth obviously is an aviation expert who is also a DMV native. Certainly, Seth, you are familiar with this region. What are your thoughts of what you've seen so far?
Indeed, Mark. Yeah, on this absolutely awful night. My first thoughts go back to the crash. You probably mentioned it back in 1982, the Air Florida crash in the Potomac River, although the details of this one are very different. I will tell you, in terms of what I know so far, having spoken just a little while ago with a commercial airline pilot who, like myself, has reviewed the air traffic control tapes. You had this Army Black Hawk helicopter, as we all know, traveling there. An air traffic controller seems to have asked the pilot of that helicopter if he saw the CRJ 700, the commercial aircraft operated for American Airlines by PSA, from, as we know, Wichita to Reagan National. The pilot of the helicopter confirms that he does see it. The air traffic controller says, "Go behind the CRJ." From what we can tell, looking at the flight paths of both aircraft, the helicopter goes in front of the CRJ, and about 375 feet above the above ground level is when communication is lost, according to flight aware data. So this commercial airline pilot who I was speaking with says that it can be surprisingly difficult visually to tell what direction an airplane is going at night. And so it could be, and again, this is very early speculation, Mark, but could be that the pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter just thought the aircraft was going in a different direction. It was a north operation at Reagan National today. Folks who fly frequently know that either you come in from the north, fly over to Potomac. It's called the river visual approach. You get that view of the monuments when you're landing, if you're sitting out the left side of the aircraft, or you come in from the south, kind of over Alexandria. You see the buildings and homes there. That's what was happening tonight. From the south, going north, everybody landing and taking off north, and the helicopter appears in this early stage to have cut in front of the CRJ 700 with those, as far as we know, about 64 people on board, 60 passengers, and 4 crew members.
Heartbreaking. Seth, Chris Flanagan here, along with Mark Hall. What about an avoidance system, a traffic collision avoidance system? Do both aircrafts typically have them, military and American Airlines jet? Wouldn't they alert the pilots that these two aircrafts are approaching dangerously closely to one another?
Yeah, typically the commercial aircraft certainly would have all of that on board. I'm candidly less familiar with what the Black Hawk would have on board. Part of that is that the military just doesn't talk as much about what's on board those aircraft, and also I'm simply more familiar with commercial aircraft than I am with military aircraft. But yeah, this was clearly a last minute maneuver by that helicopter. And so by all appearances here, not something that you have that sort of minimum separation both laterally and vertically between aircraft, but the helicopter seems to have come into the path of the airplane rather quickly and in what might have been an unpredictable way for those systems. But that's something that certainly is going to be looked at. All kinds of things, even. And again, with this early speculation that it was the helicopter that seems to have been in the wrong place. But when you have the traffic controller saying go behind the CRJ, that terminology to somebody in the helicopter's position there is something that I'm sure, in terms of lessons that we're going to learn, and I keep saying it, but it bears repeating, early speculation here. If in fact the pilot of the helicopter was confused, that's going to be one of the lessons learned from this crash. Is some kind of additional redundancy will come out of that, right? That even if a mistake like that is made, maybe even more specific terminology. The most famous and deadliest crash in the history of global aviation back in 1977 on the island of Tenerife in Spain involved confusion between the terms takeoff and departure. And a lesson from that crash was that was standardized. Takeoff means takeoff. That's not just departure. And the industry has become safer over the years because of, unfortunately, lessons from these crashes, which have become so rare in the U.S. But yeah, here we are.
This is Mark. Seth, this is Mark. You talk about lessons learned. Right now, obviously, the focus is on search, rescue, and recovery efforts, but moving forward, there's going to be an investigation. What do investigators look for? And some may wonder, why do these investigations take so long to find the cause of the crash?
Right. It'll be the National Transportation Safety Board, as you know, Mark, the NTSB, that'll surely take the lead here in the investigation. They'll be looking first for what we know as those black boxes, right? The cockpit voice recorder and the cockpit data recorder. Fortunately, here, from an investigative standpoint, no consolation, obviously, to the families of what are, unfortunately, we think going to be a lot of people lost here. But fortunately, from an investigative standpoint, you have a debris field that is rather contained. The plane crashed in water, yes, but it's rather shallow water. And they're likely going to be able to locate those recorders that they need going through, of course, also the air traffic control recordings, which we can already listen to and start parsing. So this is not going to remain one of those mysteries like, you know, if we talk about the other extreme, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, which disappeared, and here we are, 11 years later, and we still really don't know what happened with that. I'm confident we're going to get to the bottom of this one. But in terms of, and you're right, no matter what, it usually takes, with a commercial airline crash, a year or two before we get that final report. But I think somewhere here in the next few weeks, I mean, look, we're able to speculate tonight, but that's all we're doing, right? I would think within weeks, the NTSB is going to reveal some preliminary thoughts about what might have happened here.
Chris Flanagan back here again. You had mentioned earlier about the approaches you can take either from the south or the north on the Potomac into Reagan National. You know, it's not uncommon for any of us who live here in the D.C. area. We see these military helicopters, military aircraft flying at a pretty low altitude patrolling basically along the Potomac for security measures. As an aviation expert, how dangerous is the airport compared to other airports because of the uniqueness and also the security, you know, around Washington, where you know these planes have to bank, you know, seconds after taking off out of DCA because to avoid, you know, the White House and the Capitol region?
You're right, and it's actually that approach from the north, not the one that they were taking today. That's sort of the trickiest one of all for pilots. They call it I think I mentioned earlier, the river visual approach, where you know, you see the monuments and they go really right along the river. So yeah, I mean, this is an airport with just one runway, first of all, and a short-ish runway compared to some around the world, but all of that is taken into account when they schedule flights, right? There's a lot of compensation for that. It's we know in a commercial sense, some folks might know, always the subject of controversy about how many flights can be there, where those flights can go, and Congress people fight over that, partly depending on where they live and where they want nonstop flights. But so it's restricted because of those difficulties. And so over the years, you know, okay, I mentioned that awful Air Florida crash, but that's kind of the point, that we go back to 1982, right? What's that, 43 years now, to think of a disaster at that airport. So a tricky airport in some ways, but one that generally has compensated for. You're right, those military aircraft in the area there, not unique to that airport, and you know, all these decades it hasn't been a problem, but here we are now, and very clearly we're going to learn some things here about the risks of all that in the coming days and weeks.
Aviation expert and colleague Seth Kaplan, thank you so very much for joining us.
Mark, you got it.